Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actress Lucy DeVito and artist Kardash Onnig. Lucy DeVito was born and raised in Los Angeles, where she went to the Oakwood School in North Hollywood. She earned a degree from Brown University in theater and art history. Was Brown what you expected, Lucy?
Yes.
Oh.
I loved it. I really did.
Had you ever gone away to school before?
No, I hadn't. I've been to like summer programs or that kind of thing, but I mean, my first year I was totally homesick and whatever, but now I love it. I loved everyone I met there, and I loved all the classes I took. And
what about the weather, coming from Southern California and going back there?
Yeah, I got a little seasonal depression.
Did you
know? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Providence it's kind of cold during the winters.
Did you ski?
Ski? No skiing.
No skiing?
There's no skiing in Providence. More like slushing on the ice.
Oh,
you know, but it, I got used to it, and now being back in LA, I kind of miss the winter.
What about the theater program there? Is that why you chose Brown?
No, I chose Brown because you can take. There's no required classes, so you can take anything from sciencey things to artsy to English.
You don't need requirements to graduate, in other words.
Well, you do once you choose what your concentration is, but there is no like freshman science class
I see.
So I went there just wanting to take all different kinds of things and realized that I love theater and I love art, so I decided to do both, and I really got into the theater world there. I did lots of shows there. You can audition for all different things. And
do they have a theater program where they put on plays and?
Yeah, they put on shows, lots of shows throughout the year, and there's a lot of student works that go up.
Oh, people who have written their own things too? Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
And there's a few different theaters there, and I was involved in the Sock and Buskin Theater, which was the main stage, and then also the production workshop, which was all student-done stuff, like student-directed, student-built.
Oh, really? Did you direct it at one time?
I've directed little things, yeah.
Is it easy or different from acting? I mean, is there similarities?
Yes, so many similarities. I really like directing, actually.
Do you have to have a different eye, do you think?
No, I think that a good actor would make a good director, and vice versa.
If you're taking working there, are you doing costuming? Are you doing lighting?
Yeah, you learn all about that. I definitely worked in the costume shop a lot. That's where I wanted to put all my technical stuff. I don't know.
Were you creative? Can you sew?
Yeah, I can sew.
Oh, good.
I can sew, yes.
And lighting and all of that. I guess you have to know about all of that stage.
Yeah, we climbed up to the rafters, hanging lights and changing gels and all that good stuff. Taking hammers and tearing things apart. So theater is really fun in that way, where you just get involved in all different aspects of it.
When you were there, you did a 1 minute, 9 minute, what's it called? 9 more minutes.
Yeah.
A one-woman play.
A one-woman show. A one-woman show called 9 More Minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. It was 50 minutes.
Oh, it was?
It's not, yeah. The 9 More Minutes is just the title. No, it's like almost an hour show. And I wrote it throughout the course of a semester and performed it for commencement.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that like your thesis?
Yeah, yeah. There was
that's great.
There's this really awesome class called Solo Performance that my teacher, Lowry Marshall, teaches, and there were about 12 students in the class, and we all, by the end of the class, all had written a show.
What did you talk about?
It's called 9 More Minutes because that's the amount of time on the snooze button of the alarm clock. And so it was about me in bed, going through waking up, pressing snooze, going in and out of fantasy and real life and dream world, and eventually getting out of bed and finding, coming of age kind of show.
That was all from your imagination, or a lot of it true?
A lot of it was true, but it all comes from me. So I made up some fictional characters based on reality, and but also talked about personal things and stuff that actually happened to me.
There's a new play festival going on at Brown. Does it happen every year? And do the graduates participate in it?
Yes, it's in conjunction with Trinity Rep and Brown and the MFA. It's called Trinity Rep New Playwrights Festival, and 3 new plays are done every summer in repertory.
Oh.
And I did it last year. And
did you write a play last year?
No,
oh, you
just acted.
Oh.
And then I'm going back this year to do a new play called Speech and Debate, which this guy Stephen Karam wrote, who's a very talented writer.
Well, you come from a really heavy-duty showbiz background. Your mother.
Yes, Rhea Perlman.
And your father.
Danny DeVito.
Do you think that's helped you or hindered you?
Definitely helped me.
Yeah, that's so good to look at it that way. Were you on the set as a child?
Yeah. I always, with Cheers.
I was going to say, your mother's big thing was Cheers when you were a little girl, I guess.
Yeah, I remember going there all the time. And actually, she's pregnant in the show a lot, and that's me, my sister, and my brother.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a long...
The show was on for 9 years, so...
So you have the 3 kids at home?
Yeah.
And your father was on Taxi. Did you go on that
No,
set?
that was before I was born.
So you didn't get to do that?
But I've definitely been around his films and visiting the sets and stuff. So.
Do you learn when you're there on the sets?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's cool to see just how the flow of people, working together to put this, make this movie or whatever works. I really enjoy being there and just watching. So
did you always want to be an actress, or did you just look at your parents as just normal parents and you weren't going to follow in their footsteps?
I mean, I admire my parents, I always have, and I always was open to try other things, and I have, but I really found that that's what I enjoyed. And in high school I did a play, and I was like, this is kind of nice. I like it.
Did it come easily? I mean, is it? People don't realize. I think acting is hard, but maybe if you grow up in a family like that, a musician or an artist, maybe that is influencing.
We were always encouraged to be creative, and my sister does visual arts, and my brother does music and film. So we're very much about the arts, our family, and. It was really fun. If you think of acting, going at it as being a fun thing to do, it's not that hard.
But it's a real skill.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I could ever act. I think it's a skill, and it takes memory. It takes a lot of things that people don't understand.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's not always easy, but...
Right, and you have to, and you're still going to acting school. I mean, you are going to acting school and probably will through your career.
Yeah. Michael Wilson, who I've been learning from, he's my teacher. He really encourages, even if you're working, just keep going to class. And
he was a good actor, Michael. And he decided after 10 or 12 years to give up acting and to teach. What is it about his teaching? Because he brings out things in young actors, I think.
Yeah. He's Well, he's a really great guy, really nice and compatible, and
handsome.
yes, very handsome, and
well spoken.
and he's very motivational. Like,
he makes you motivated?
Yes.
How does he do that?
You know, he kind of just says, "How bad do you want it?" You know, he you know, and he gets you off your ass and makes you work. So he says, do you want this? And, you know, just work and you'll get somewhere, you know.
Along with his classes, though, he has a theater, right?
Yes, he has a theater.
And you were in a play at the theater. What was the name of that?
The play was The Shape of Things by Neil Abute.
Oh, right. Oh,
yes.
That's right.
And
who was a great writer, anyway. How is it to say his words, act his words?
Oh, it's great. It's wonderful. He's a great actor.
And so who directed?
Michael directed it. Michael Wilson directed it. And it's really interesting what that sprung from was me and Brian Watkins, who was also in the show. Him and I were taking classes with Michael, and we just started doing scenes from The Shape of Things. And we workshopped a few scenes, the last scene first, actually, and then we did the first scene, and then Michael kind of said, you guys should think about doing the play. And we were like, I don't know. And then we started working on it some more, and we got the rights to do the show, and we just did it.
And how did you act together? You must have been working together well.
Yeah, really well. Brian is a wonderful actor and really great person, so we got along really well. And the three of us, you know, put it together, produced it, and made it happen.
Your family, your father helped produce it?
Yeah, well, my dad was like our guardian angel.
I was going to say, and then, so did he bring in a lot of people to...
Yeah, a lot of interesting people came to come see it.
Like what kind of people?
Well, people in the business, you know, casting people or whatever, but
agents, people like that. No,
yeah,
not
some
so much.
people. You know, lots of friends. The person who we are all excited about who came to see it was David Mamet came.
But do you feel any different when you know you're going to go on stage and here's David Mamet in the audience, and Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman? Do you feel that?
Yeah,
energy?
definitely. Definitely. It's
do you want to do better, or are you more scared?
Oh, I want to do better. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we get, you know, in the zone when someone's in the audience. We're like, okay, let's go, guys. Like,
do you? That's really motivational.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, I'm so glad you were here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Because I think it's an inspiration for young actresses to go out and work hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it'll get us somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
Good.
Exciting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with Kardash Onnig, the sculptor, on the set today. Hi, I'm back, and I'm Joan Quinn. Welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Kardash Onnig was born Onnig Kalfayan in Lebanon, where the rich tradition of ancient cultures surrounded him. He learned to communicate in Arabic, Armenian, and French, and of course English. When he got to the United States in 1958, he attended the Cutting Edge Art Students League. Did you bring with you those influences that you had from Europe?
Well, my influences are in my work right now. I mean, I'm basically end up as a direct carver, which is a process like Michelangelo did after 70s, then Rodin did it, then Brancusi, then Raoul Haig. Right. I'm a direct carver, which means cleaning out what you don't want and allowing it to happen. It's a process-oriented
Is it like
work.
Minimalism in a way?
Well, no, minimalism is an intellectual thing. I'm an empirical person.
Oh,
I have to find everything by working. It's a process-oriented.
But all those things were in you, all that tradition
Yes.
from your background in Lebanon, and your mother storytelling, and your father was a tailor, and I think you say your mother, even with being a housewife, did so many things in the community.
Oh, yeah. She was a medicine woman to the community.
That's what I thought was interesting.
Oh, yes.
How? What kind of remedies did she use?
Oh, I grew up with it. I'm 65 years old. I don't have any medical issues, no surgery, nothing. It's all because she cured everything with homemade medicine. I mean, it was
Do you know
always
how to
on
do
top
it?
of us. Oh, I do it all the time. I grow my own medicine garden I have.
Oh,
and
you do?
I make echinacea medicine. I mean, like lots of medicine. I mean, I make my own cures all the time. I grow it in the garden, and we do it at home, you know.
So that whole influence followed you all the way
Oh, yes.
to here,
Oh,
and
yes.
in your work too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is, I mean, I grew up with 2 grandmothers, a mother, and lots of aunts. So my whole childhood was all in the house making things. So my sensuality all comes from the
that's right.
feminine thing. And
Did
then
you
I had
work
to
in the
deal-
kitchen?
Oh, yes. I do it now. I'm a great cook. I mean, or even by myself. I spend an hour making a meal to eat in 5 minutes from my garden, from the animals I raise. I raised over 100 animals, you know, through the years. And
Where do you live now?
upstate New York, Millbrook. It's about 90 miles north, and a beautiful man, a sort of adopted father, gave me part of his property, 11 acres, sort of in a forest, and in it I built a chapel. Actually, I have the only Mehian outside Armenia, pagan. you know.
What is that, Mayan?
It's a pagan ritual place. It was what we call chapel now, but the Mehian is called the pagan one. It's about the 4 elements, basically all my work is all about.
Yeah, so
And-
this is an influence of your work, or your work is an influence of that. I didn't understand what the chapel or the pagan building
what happened was what I'm trying to prove actually in art is that architecturally, I've taken 4 characters. Ultimately, I'm saying, okay, the whole world is coming together. We need one alphabet.
I see.
So what is this alphabet to look like? So ultimately, having traveled around the world, studying different cultures, I have come up with 4 alphabet characters.
These 4?
There they are. Yeah, the
And
4
they're in
characters.
this thing
the same.
too?
So now I put them in different way, trying to make vocabulary. So as I travel different cultures with the Native American Indians and so forth, I put them in 4. Creating those characters, you know, and see if I can make a vocabulary. That's
So
basically
these are
the 4, yes.
the 4 forms.
The 4 forms.
And you make them
when
out
they're
of different-
three-dimensional, I make them out of different stones. When I'm in Garapag, where I was 2001, I carve local material. So this is my local walnut painted, bronze. So wherever I go, I take the local material and utilize it, you know.
What was the other thing where you did that exhibition with lots of, you did it outdoors in a park?
Oh, here, Brand Park.
Is that where
Yes,
it was?
Yes, yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, that
Because
one
it reminds me of the tribal feeling as well.
Yes, I was funded by Louis Simon, actually, to spend a year in LA and to create an art program.
And she was the president of the Armenian
AGBU and so forth.
Armenian Benevolent.
General Benevolent Union. Yeah.
Thank you.
But actually, I didn't have a relationship with that. It was a personal thing. I
I
have contact
see.
with her. It's like a private thing. The
I
other one, I
see.
don't know the organization. But she gave me a year to come here. And then through the year, I did Portraits of the Dead. That was the show.
That was interesting.
So it was a tent. It was Armenian architecture made into a tent, diasporic people moving around. So you take it apart, you move to another town, you do it again, like a tent. And in it, there were these talismans I did. It was
That's it.
basically to re-identify the Armenians culturally because they're dead. You know, they're dead here, they're dead there, they're dead. You know, sort of the culture is like stagnant. And the idea was, how do you rejuvenate a culture that's stagnant?
And what did you make them with? Sticks?
Aluminium structure. What I did is I took the Armenian architecture structure inside. I built that on the outside.
Which is the church, you mean,
and then
that
the church
structure.
inside.
Yeah.
So I took the structure inside out. I opened the soul like the church. So they put the outside. And the rest was stretch fabric out of nylon. It was like underwear material for women, actually. So it was stretch. It was the first time big structure was done like that. It was 40 feet high.
Oh, it was.
It was big.
And then the pieces inside?
Were they were tied together. They were talismans of how is rebirth done. Again, I used the 4 elements there. There were 4
Yeah.
sticks on each one. The basic idea of the 4 is because there's a universal consciousness. We are all made out of 4. We are 4
And
elements.
that's when then you have the 4
All the time.
alphabets or
Yes.
the 4 things.
Because in the search of a universal language, when I travel around the cultures around, four ultimately is in essence, everyone has the four. The Judaism, Yahweh is made out of four, Y-H-W-H. Allah is made out of four. The mandala of Tibetan is out of four. The swastika in Indian, the Armenian swastika. Everywhere you go, ultimately, the haiku poetry is made out of four. So everything universal, to come up with a universal alphabet, I took what it is that is universal amongst all people. And ultimately, we are four.
When you first started, you were doing a lot of like commercial and business theaters. Did you move away from that?
Yes. Well, in the 60s, I was one of the great inventors of multimedia. I mean, for IBM,
you were working for big companies.
Oh, yeah. I was like one of the hottest thing in America. I mean, I only worked for IBM. Very high tech they had to be, because a lot of my software and hardware, it's all included in the computer today, which went in the wrong direction, by the way. It went two-dimensional.
But you weren't interested in that anymore.
In
you
1969,
created that.
I quit corporate America because I knew it was a disaster place. I mean, the attitude, the idea of this profit, I knew it was wrong. It was not going anywhere.
Was it?
I quit.
But you were still looking for the inner soul, which you were bringing out.
Plus the 60s, one of my great sort of intellectual thing is Marshall McLuhan, who said medium is the message. And after that, I said, okay, if the medium is the message, what medium am I using? I'm using two-dimensional medium, sound, visual, to project, but they're all two-dimensional. So putting two dimensions together doesn't make three-dimensional. So I quit everything and I went to Paris for a year, starting to question, what does it mean, this transference that happens? What is it? This energy that happens between us. How does it work? How is it made? But it's three-dimensional.
Had you already addressed the genocide problems at that point?
Yes, 1967 actually, the first time I made a placard. I was in a hippie, gone with civil rights movement, all that. We were like trying to make peace in the world. And I held a placard that said, "Unhate a Turk this day, April 24th," which didn't go very well. Unhate a Turk. And people usually think that has to do with loving Turk. I have nothing to do with that. My feeling is you can't have hate in you because it's touching every day. Then you hate your brother, you hate your cousin, you hate everything.
That's why I was wondering about the word, because when I read it, unhate.
Unhate.
Let's take it out of
Get it out of my system. So I don't have hate. It doesn't mean love. It doesn't mean forgiveness. All that crap.
It doesn't,
just means I don't want it anymore because it saved me. That's how I was able to move into consciousness of thinking of universal idea.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm with everybody.
That's the next point, right?
Yes.
Once you get that out and you kept looking for things within.
Yes. And then suddenly you realize I'm having a relationship with a Chinese, a Japanese, an American, Indian, all that. And I can do it.
I like that. Unhate.
Unhate.
That doesn't mean any of the other things. It's just like getting out.
Getting out to cleanse oneself.
Right.
And then about 30 years ago, I adopted the word Kardash, which is not my childhood name. It means brother in Turkish. Oh. And that because my mother and grandmother were saved by Turks in 1915 and kept for 3 years until everything got over. Then they sent them over to Lebanon.
So they weren't in.
So for me, it was out of gratefulness of those who extended themselves to do it. And so I respect the name.
When you came out of the multimedia, there was a turning point, like a stress point for you.
Yes, big time. Because actually the last project I was working on was Ego Requiem. It was a sound thing, computerized and all that. And the same week somebody gave me a marble as a gift. So I took this 35,000 project and I took it on the stone, and suddenly I realized three-dimensional is different than two-dimensional, working with computers. I mean, I was like one of the inventors of that machine. It sucks. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
Ridiculous. Anyone who thinks they have a 10-year-old kid that has a future in computer, forget it.
Their life is gone.
Gone.
They're not alive.
Nothing.
So that's where the transference came in.
Yes. And slowly inventing alphabet, slowly realizing that this transference, how does it happen? If you take all your premeditated ideas, that's a Turk, that's a black, that's a white, if you get rid of it, then suddenly you start seeing people because you don't have a judgment with the tools that you are given, because we basically know each other by the hate we have to the other rather than the love we have to
That's
the other.
what's so great. I mean, that now opens it up and makes it clear. You're doing a show called
Harakat. Arabic
Harakat,
is
what does
movement.
that mean?
It's movement Arabic. You know, so that these things move around all the time. And
these are the 4 pieces that you're talking about.
Yes. Yes, and each one, I mean, it's a stress point. It's actually a lifeline that's been stressed.
I see.
And then the energy comes together. So these energies are meeting up there. This one is meeting. So the idea is, what are the criteria? And basically, it might not be the end, but I'm proposing that we should all put our minds together and see to come up with a universal way to communicate.
Do you make these in larger sizes?
Oh yes, they have the bigger, you know, I do that depending if it's outdoors, if it is different places, you know. Some of the interesting one I did actually when I was in Karabakh, Armenia, I've been there many times, I brought stones from there and I carved the shapes, sent them to Germany, they analyze it, its crystal structure.
Oh, beautiful.
And so now, by standing there, the crystal structure, the way it's formed, energy transferred.
Oh, because the crystals take it,
because
right,
it does
pick
it.
it up.
I mean, you can carve a huge mountain in that shape. You can communicate with Mars without all this technology, you know, because that's what radar is. It's like sensitivity, you know.
Yeah, and so this work is at the Black Maria Gallery on Glendale Boulevard in LA, Atwater Village, I think it is.
Yes,
and your work can be seen there. But the other
it's a fundraising, actually. It's a fundraising because I want to go to Turkey for a year. And
to do this apprenticeship.
I've done that for the last 20 years, actually.
And before we leave, because we only have a minute left, but what is that apprenticeship? Who do you work with?
I take on teens. I take responsibility not to badmouth Bush or anybody else. I take responsibility of the future. I take 7 kids every summer, be here, Karabakh, Los Angeles, I've done it. I take 7 kids, I turn them on to 3-dimensional. They're not allowed to talk 2-dimensional anything, no history about some stupid, they have to be there.
And where do you get them?
I advertise. I put posters in the village. You know, in Karabakh, I put posters everywhere. And what I do is they come to work for 2 months for free. After 2 months, I pay them. So they get this feeling they're doing things. In Karabakh right now, I have kids who make beautiful toys and they sell them. They make a living better than their parents.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, I want to do the same in Turkey. Get kids, make things. It doesn't have to do with Armenian and Turkish. I don't have those issues, man. Like, forget it. Just people, just kids. I want to go hang out. It's like hanging out in Tahiti. I want to go hang out with people who are, so that my consciousness of alphabet is universal. Yeah. So I can take it everywhere and see that it does work.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles today. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017.